Hi everyone, my name is Sunny and today's video is going to be about Pluto in the 8th house or in its home sign, which is Pluto in Scorpio, which, I mean, it does, just because it's in its home sign doesn't mean it's any easier. It's still pretty heavy, but sometimes it's nice to have a planet in its home sign where you know how to actually deal with its energies because you're very familiar with them rather than being scared, although you could show some fears because Pluto is fear, but more or less you just know how to navigate these energies regardless if they're negative or positive. You just are very knowledgeable with a lot of wisdom when it comes to Plutonian topics. So if you guys have this placement, regardless of whether your placement is positive or negative, it's a lot to do with secrets of others, secrets of affairs, maybe secrets of taboos. Maybe you're, although I mentioned this for some other placements, I believe it was the 2nd or the 6th house, I'm not sure, it's been a while. I'm gonna say it's probably the 2nd house, I think, if I'm not mistaken. When it comes to earning income here, because it is other people's income, you could inherit things from someone that's passing away, right? I'm trying not to say certain trigger words because of the algorithm. They tend to not push videos, but you get the gist of these topics. And sometimes it doesn't always have to be such a drastic, hardcore, traumatic thing. It can be something that you kind of expected, you kind of see it coming because someone's ill, someone's health is pretty ill, or they're pretty ill for quite some time, and you notice that you're making the best of the time that you actually have with this person. Or if you just dislike this person as well, it doesn't have to be someone that you actually like, but more so maybe an extended family member or someone that is within you. It's not always the DEATH of yourself, it's sometimes that DEATH of somebody else within close proximity. Maybe it's a neighbor, a friend, a partner, a family member, maybe even a pet. But I didn't mention this. Pets are more 6th house, but it can be something that was dear, maybe like a common asset, like between you and your partner, things like that. But typically it's more or less people within close proximity, right? Or maybe your elderly grandparents or godparents or whoever is elderly. That's it's more or less you expect it, because it's something that has been coming up within your vicinity, right? So I don't think you're someone that's full of surprises when it comes to these things. A lot of the 8th house things are mysterious, but they, depending on what is aspecting it, it can be either pretty drastic, pretty mild, but still it affects you deep within your psyche. It's a lot of internalized issues you have to go through and work through. Or maybe if you don't inherit things because it's people's money, other people's money, you can, I think I mentioned it before and I got a little bit strayed, but it could be you earning income through secretive endeavors. Maybe you're someone that actually this is terrible. Sorry, I'm trying not to laugh when I think about this, but maybe you sell feet pics, but you don't want people to know because it's one of those things. It's like you are embarrassed or you feel ashamed of these ways that you earn income, but it's a good revenue, I feel, for you. So you continue to do it because you have your own issues. Maybe you have bills to pay, or maybe you legitimately enjoy these things. There's nothing wrong with that, but it feels like there's certain things that you probably wouldn't air out in a daily conversation between you and your friends, or you and your partner, or maybe you and your family member. I'm sorry, my nose is starting to get a little nasally. But within this, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but I just thought of that peculiar kind of habit of work, because I didn't want to say, first people usually say like sex working, or also working in a strip club. I kind of get annoyed with me spelling out things sometimes because YouTube tends to be so sensitive about certain words, and I wish there was like a disclaimer of words and you could just speak, but typically it kind of works this way, you know. Prohibition. um, but anyway, I mean, I could say them, but I know that eventually it'll come back and, you know, bite me in the AWS because it might not be pushed up out with other videos in comparison. So going back to 8th house matters, you could be very secretive about things that you learn too, as well as occult themes. Maybe that's why, maybe some people, I think some people also, whether they're like a medium, but that's also partially 12th house because it's Piscean, mediumship, tarot readers, astrologers, other people who, like, maybe you're the person who also talks to animals, but that's also kind of more or less like a profession within the 6th house because it relates to pets. You tend to kind of be more secretive maybe of these things because you don't want people to know, because one, you could be secretive in private because they will ridicule you, ridicule, I don't know if I'm saying that right, and make you feel worthless and ashamed of what you're doing because that's how you're getting by. Or you don't want people to know because it's another business, right? That judgment is not something you wanna mess with. You've experienced it before, so there's no need to actually rock the boat, I feel, with this one. So I think you guys are very mysterious to people because maybe if people feel that you hold a lot of secrets, but you're proud, majority of people that have scorpionic placements or Scorpio placements with Pluto, they tend to just want to be private for the most part because they would rather not deal with too much on their plate that is unnecessary. It's like if they're eating a bowl of spaghetti and then they have salt, like they're just eating and, you know, they're trying to finish it because, you know, they're hungry, and then they spill some sauce on the table. It's like they'd rather not deal with the sauce and just focus on the actual eating of the spaghetti, you know. That's the terrible analogy, but it's like they're not going to focus on other things that are unrelated to their issues. They already have enough issues as is with internal problems. They don't need to add more. So that's why they're probably more than likely secretive. They're not really, I don't feel for the most part that, sorry, I'm getting jittery. I don't feel for the most part that they tend to hide secrets to hurt others. It's more so to be protective of themselves. They have to build up a protective layer of not letting anybody read their thoughts and actions and expressions and how they spend money, how they earn money, how they have mysterious fascinations for other things that are taboo and secretive and occult. Maybe they're really into conspiracy theories, for example. Oh, I shouldn't have said that word. It's probably one of the most true words. Oh well, it's already there. But you get the gist of, like, they like to, you know, have alternative practices and lifestyles, and they're interested in this. So they don't typically point that out to people, but you can also come into mysterious money. Maybe you can also win the lottery, but that's more Jupiter too. But, you know, you could possibly have a drastic change come in, and like you either lose money or you increase your money and you didn't expect it, or it was like you kind of had a feeling. Your intuition kind of is pretty strong with this one. Your nose is always on the money, so you know how to get it, you know where to get it, you don't have a problem with it. But it does take you a while to actually learn these skills. These are not skills that you're perfected and you're just born with it. It's like, I don't know why I wanted to say maybe it's Maybelline. Sorry. So I do think that you were unfortunately not taught, more like you were unfortunately put into scenarios that were unsavory to you, where you had to rely on your own instinct to survive, right? Probably in your formative years. And with that experience comes a lot of knowledge and wisdom, and you just have this street smart to you where you just know how to pick up things. Maybe that's also partially ninth house too, but it just feels like you just have a lot of survival skills. So you just know how to achieve success regardless of the means. It's like, what's that expression? The means. It's I forgot, but the means is the something, the ends is something to the means, something around those lines. But that's one way of seeing it. You can also try to hide many of the things that is going on inside. Your mental health is something you could probably hide from people. You don't want people to know all the possible aggressive tendencies that you could possibly have too, or people that have placed it on you, and you just kind of have this inner anger maybe that's kind of boiling inside because people constantly took advantage of you and your kindness and your noble sentiments and your physical aspect, right? I'm trying not to say some stuff, but certain things were taken advantage of, and you try to cope with it the best you can. And you being on the offense is something that you can always, it just sort of comes to you naturally over time. That's how you have that self-protective layer of not allowing people to physically mess with you. You learn to be more protective of your body. So you maybe also hide away most of your even physical aspect as well. Maybe specifically certain regions, but I would say they could also go the other way, where you feel like the way you would empower yourself is by exposing your body, so you would feel comfortable. Maybe, like example, like the way you get your power back is by maybe like modeling for the art students by completely going nude and being appreciated, but also still feeling like you have the call, you call the shots, and that's, you say when and how. Example, right? Not just the sex work, when it's like you decide how and when and who, because not everybody has those advantages. Some people are coerced into these industries, but that's an example that feels like you are entitled to yourself. You monetize that as well, so it could be that. And that's how you feel like you have control. It's like, I did this on my own, not because someone forced me to, but that's a protective way. It's like one of those, what are they called? One of those behaviors that just came as an after effect, right? Because of things that could have happened to you. So that's how you can gain yourself that trust, that power back into yourself, that dominion. So something else you can consider in regards to displacement, not being able to let go easily of things, whether it's maybe if you are divorced, whatever you built, you struggle to let go of and like maybe divide those assets. Maybe it's not so much because of the money, the financial part, but more so that psychological part that you invested something deeply with this person and this person just kind of just dissolved it. And you could be that person too. You could be the bad guy, right? It's like you decided to step out of that connection, and this person found out, or they could never find out because Pluto's so secretive, so maybe they never find out and you could still continue to do that. But to those that end up having a separation, it's the fact that you built something so deeply with a person, that you engulfed yourself in all these things and this person that they liked, what they didn't like, that you not that you absorbed you didn't, it's not so Neptunian, but it does kind of feel like it, because it is watery. It just feels like you had a form of codependency or dependency on your partner, because you just took it for granted, or you just assumed that you guys would be together forever, but you never assumed that worst case scenario could be the separation of it, right? So separation of assets can be traumatizing for you, that your world started crumbling. Some people, it's such fixed energy that you don't know. Just because you can adapt and transform doesn't mean it's easy. It's something that comes easy. Over the years, the more transformation you learn about these 8th house topics, you learn to handle it properly, but it does take you some time. It is slow. It is not something that comes like, it's not something that you want to let go of. It's like you're holding onto it with your life. So you will see that as well. So something else that you can notice, the disillusionment of trust as well when it comes to others with the connection of you, but that's also an after effect of the 7th house Pluto, where you have to learn to trust in them and combine yourself with somebody else if you need to, like if you're marriage, you know, forming a partnership, and then what comes after that I do, and then it's like, oh, I have to work on this, which I don't think you mind specifically, but it's scary to you to start new, start fresh, start a new relationship, even at that. Building something from nothing and then having somebody take it is something scary to you. So that could be something you worry about frequently. Your health can be mysterious accidents with no explanation, and you're gonna deep dive into things, into the what ifs or what happened. But the more sometimes you try to engulf yourself into this energy, you forget to live in the present time. So you forget to realize that there's a future to be experienced, and you are getting lost in the past, getting lost in the sauce. You're getting lost in irrelevant things from time to time. It's not always irrelevant, but is it really relevant if it's affecting you? Is it relevant if it affects your future, or is it affecting you in an aspect to your present? So you have to consider it's not just you anymore. It's someone you have to consider. Maybe it's also your children, because that's what marriage brings sometimes, right? Marriage brings fur babies, and they sometimes bring kids, or they bring other assets like a home, like together, you know, vehicles together, or investments together. So are you really going to be focusing on the past, or are you going to be focusing on what you have already? And or because is it scary to experience the good things? Are you always expecting the worst case scenario because you've always experienced negativity from people and from others that you just kind of take it as a given? So you have to learn how to kind of shift, not be so doom and gloomy. That's a scary thought too, I understand, but you have to consider that there's a lot to learn from the lightness that Pluto can bring you, which is healing a lot of the things that can come from 8th house matters. And you could be very good at psychoanalyzing others, and maybe helping them navigate the scary things in life that they are scared to tread with. They're scared to deal with taboos, and maybe the DEATH and rebirth of their ego and their life, and what else is given to them. So these are some things that you can learn to explore. You're not scared to explore. You're not scared to deep dive. You're not scared about researching. I think you're enthusiastic and happy when you are researching things that you do not know, but you want to know. So therefore, you actively pursue these subjects in conversation, but secretively, behind closed doors where nobody is going to bother you, or only you have your own thoughts. So that's some things that you can also see and explore, and it will be interesting for you to find out. So I'm kind of spacing out already, but I do have more information. I'll probably write that down in the description. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this Pluto in the 8th house. There's a lot to uncover still, but I'll probably write that down. So I'm sorry. I got nervous and I don't want to start mumbling about things that I'm repeating myself. So thank you, everybody, and I hope you guys have a good day. So bye-bye.